This is continuing coverage of the case against Lori Vallow Daybell from the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today.
We're finally here. The saga of Lori Vallow Daybell has all but ended. And not with a bang or some sort of spectacular moment in court that made us all go, "Oh, Lori, you're right. You are the queen of Rexburg. All along, we were just blinded by the light." No, it seems when Lori doesn't want to play, she just doesn't want to play. She's not going to tell you why she doesn't want to play. She's not going to tell you why she wanted to play in the first place or what made her want to play the game. She's just done. And she'll just pout and go back to her room, except her room is a cell, and it will be where she is kept for the rest of her natural life. Now, we already knew that that would happen, but now it's just like really, really secure, barring zombie apocalyptic prison break scenario, which I don't know who I'd rather be hanging out with, the zombies or the Vallows or the Daybells. Zombie, Daybell, the zombie, maybe zombie. I think you have better chances there. So, how did it all go down? We're going to get to that in 1 second. But before we do, press subscribe wherever you are watching this or listening to this, whatever podcast platform it may be. If you're on YouTube, please hit subscribe there. We do greatly appreciate that. You don't miss any of the content that we put out every single day for you on this and the many cases that we cover here at True Crime Today and the Hidden Killers podcast. So, picture this. You're sitting in a courtroom in Phoenix. It's 11 in the morning on a Thursday in June, and 12 jurors just took 30 minutes to decide that, yes, in fact, Lori Vallow Daybell absolutely conspired to murder her niece's ex-husband. 30 minutes! That's less time than it takes to watch a sitcom episode or get DoorDash. And these folks used it to convict someone of conspiracy to commit murder. You know what that tells me? The evidence was so overwhelming that a jury probably spent 25 of those minutes just making sure they filled out the paperwork correctly. Here's where it gets even more surreal, or does it? Lori, of course, represented herself during the entire trial. A woman who's already serving life sentences in Idaho for murdering her 2 children, decided she was qualified to be her own lawyer twice. Because apparently when you're facing your 3rd murder-related conviction, why not add terrible legal strategist to your resume? She sat there in her pursuit, which the court reporter noted might be her last appearance in street clothes, and listened as each juror confirmed their guilty verdict. One by one, 12 people essentially said, "Yeah, we think you tried to have someone killed." The intended victim, Brandon Boudreaux, he was sitting right there in the gallery with his wife, Jenny. Can you imagine? The guy you literally tried to have shot in a drive-by is watching you get convicted for it. That's another one for Lori's resume. October 2019, someone pulls up to Brandon's house in a modified Jeep. When I say modified, I mean they tinted the windows and literally removed the back seat to make room for, well, shooting activities. Someone fires at Brandon, misses, and they speed off. The prosecution presented evidence about burner phones, cell tower data, and gunshot residue found in that sketchy Jeep. Real, subtle operation they were running there. What makes the whole thing even more twisted is that Brandon Boudreaux was married to Melanie Pulowski, who happens to be Lori's niece. So this is a family affair, but not the kind you see at Thanksgiving dinner, unless your family gatherings involved alleged murder plots, burner phones, in which case maybe find a new family. The timing of all this is particularly damning. This attempted shooting happened while Lori was deep into whatever bizarre beliefs led her to allegedly murder her children and conspire to kill her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. Speaking of Charles, his sister Kay Vallow Woodcock was there in the courtroom too. This woman has been to more Lori Daybell trials than most people have been to movies in the past year. She's watched her former sister-in-law get convicted for conspiring to kill Charles back in April, and now she's watching conviction number 2 roll in. All in attendance was Colby Ryan, who's Tylee's brother. One of the children, Lori, was convicted of murdering in Idaho. This kid has had to sit through this mother being convicted of killing his sister. The trauma in that courtroom could probably be measured on the Richter scale. The prosecutor, Trina Kay, must have presented one hell of a case to get a conviction that fast. Or, you were going against Lori Vallow Daybell. When the jury comes back in an hour, they walked into that deliberation room, looked at each other, and someone probably said something like, "So, we all agree she did it, right?" The defense apparently couldn't create enough reasonable doubt to keep them deliberating through lunch. And let's be honest, when you're representing yourself and you're already doing life for murdering your kids, you're not exactly starting from a position of strength. After the verdict, things moved into administrative phase, which sounds boring, but actually revealed something interesting. Lori objected to an aggravation phase, but then immediately stipulated to aggravating factors. For those who don't speak legal, that's basically saying, I don't want to do this, and then immediately doing it anyway. It's like refusing dessert and then eating half the chocolate cake. Judge Justin Bursky, who's been presiding over this carnival of chaos, ordered pre-sentence reports for both of Lori's Arizona convictions. And here's where it gets a little logistically weird. They're going to sentence her for both Arizona conspiracies on the same day, July 25th, from 9 to noon. Mark that on your calendars, kids. That's right. They've blocked out 3 hours to sentence someone who's already doing life in Idaho. Lori actually requested sentencing within 30 days probably because she's worried about the interstate transport timing back to Idaho. Because when you're serving multiple life sentences, apparently your biggest concern is travel schedule. The advisory attorneys, Pamela Hicks and Robert Albernetti, downed a bottle of Grey Goose simultaneously, saying, "Thank God the bitch is dead." Okay, no, that didn't happen. They stuck around even though Lori insisted on representing herself. Can you imagine being a lawyer watching your client torpedo their own case while you just sit there legally unable to intervene? Like being a driving instructor in the passenger seat while your student driver drives straight towards a cliff, but you've been specifically instructed not to grab the wheel. 2 jurors from Lori's previous Arizona trial showed up to watch this verdict. That's dedication to civic duty right there. Maybe they just wanted to see how the sequel compared to the original. It's kind of like a really bad, this is like not even to DVD. This one was like a straight to VHS, and nobody has VHS anymore. Either way, they got a show. 30-minute deliberation resulting in another guilty verdict for someone who seems to collect murder convictions like some people collect stamps. What's particularly chilling about the case is how it fits into the larger pattern of violence that surrounded Lori and her 5th husband, Chad Daybell. It wasn't an isolated incident. It was allegedly part of a spree that included the murders of her children, JJ and Tylee, the death of Chad's first wife, Tammy, and the conspiracy to kill Charles Vallow. All for what? The attempted shooting of Brandon Boudreaux allegedly happened right in the middle of all of this in October of 2019, when bodies were literally piling up around this couple. The evidence about the modified Jeep is especially damning. Who removes the backseat of a whole vehicle and then tints the windows unless they're planning something that required both concealment and apparently extra room for maneuvering? It's not like they were starting a moving company. The gunshot residue found in that vehicle connected it directly to the shooting attempt itself. And the cell phone data presumably put someone associated with Lori in the area when it happened. As Lori heads back to Idaho to continue serving her life sentences, she's now got this third conviction hanging over her head, and come July 25th, she'll face sentencing for both Arizona conspiracies. Though at this point, it's kind of like adding extra toppings to a pizza that's already burned. The damage is done. The real victory here is for Brandon Boudreaux this round, who survived an alleged murder attempt and lived to see justice served in 30 minutes flat. Sometimes the system works exactly as fast as it should. As it finally did, in some way, shape, or form, in the trial of Lori Vallow Daybell. And I hope that's the last time I have to talk in present tense about a trial of Lori Vallow Daybell, other than the sentencing day. But thank God this one is over. Is anybody else burned out on Lori like I am? It was interesting at first. I mean, tragic and horrible, obviously, but my God, that was a rabbit hole. That was a rabbit hole in trying to understand people that cannot be understood. Tell me what your thoughts are on the verdict. Was it fair? Do you think she got a fair trial? I mean, but as fair as you're going to get when you're representing yourself and you don't know what you're doing and you fake sick through your trial and you don't present a defense. How long do you think the cult really makes a movement that she starts in prison? Wonder what she's going to get going there. You think it'll work? You think she'll get a cult? It sounds like she already kind of has one going based on some interviews that I'd heard in the women's jail where she's been staying. I don't see it being a impossibility. Press subscribe wherever you are listening or watching. We do greatly appreciate that. And like I said in the comments, let me know what you think. My name is Tony Bruschi, and we will, of course, talk again real soon.
Craving non-stop true crime updates? Press subscribe now and get the latest cases, analysis, and expert commentary delivered straight to your feed. Only from the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today.